Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is October 25th, and today's episode is going to talk about a new smart node stacks. We're also going to be talking about Constellation, an update on there. There's a new GMC rewards period that's out, so we're going to talk about that. And Knoshua explains the difference between the Rocket Pool and Lido bonding and why it's set up the way it is, and a whole lot more as well. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Okay, so yesterday we got a new smart node stack, and this was version 1.14.0, and this is a recommended upgrade that has bug fixes, client updates, and minor new features. But this will be a mandatory upgrade for certain people, and the reason why that is it introduces smart node changes to allow the flow for ETH-only validators. So let's actually start a little bit further back. So we have the client updates. There's Nethermind. This is 1.29.1, and this is actually a mandatory upgrade that actually improves memory usage affecting 1.29.0, which was in the previous smart node. So that has been fixed. There's a Prism update, a Bisu update, and a Reth update. That's all cool. Now the main changes here are with the smart node changes. So there's the option for creating 16 ETH mini pools has been removed. And the reason for that is because they are not worth it going forward. Why would you create a 16 ETH validator when you can get, well, not double the rewards, but more rewards? So instead of 1.14 times solo staker rewards, you can get 1.3 times solo staker rewards. So that commission on top of the solo staker rewards is double pretty much. That part of it is. So, there's no need to have 16 ETH validators anymore. And I think the website has been scrubbed basically of mention of 16 ETH validators as well. It's just not something that is necessary anymore going forwards for Rocket Pool. So that's really cool. And then there's a removal of the -Y flag. The -Y flag basically lets you skip certain checks. It just says like yes, 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 basically. And that has been removed to enhance the user awareness of changes. So what will happen is when you enter the command now, you will have to read the prompts. Well, hopefully you'll read the prompts before you interact with that and respond to it. And then they said some of the commands were adjusted in relation to Saturn 0 and updated the welcome message text and authors, and fixed to reduce the number of RPC calls for oDAO nodes, and an indirect fix for the issue on graffiti messages that were too long using 1.13.10. And then if you want to install it, there's the guide on installing it there. However, we actually got not long later, a little while later, there was version 1.14.1 that was released. So this is a minor smart node update that addresses a breaking change from Prism and updates the Lodestar version. So this is if you're not a Prism user and have installed 1.14.0, there's no need for you to update. If you are a Prism user though, you need to update here because there's issues. So make sure you update. And also, of course, like I was saying, if you are looking to take advantage of Saturn 0, if you're looking to take advantage of having ETH-only validators on your node, then you need to update to this to make sure that you've got the correct flow coming out of your smart node and making sure that everything is the way that's supposed to be, and you can kind of understand everything that's going on. So this is it's not mandatory, but it's recommended. So and I think it's mandatory basically if you are going on taking advantage of Saturn 0. And as always, there's a new smart node, so we also have a new POAP for this. So this is the 1.14.0 update POAP, and Shifting says that post the screenshots showing your smart node version to receive a POAP. We're accepting community submissions alongside the standard design. So if you'd like to showcase your skills and compete against your friends, then upload your designs, and it has to be 500 by 500 pixels and less than 200 kilobytes. And you have until Saturday the 26th, which is tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. Eastern time to update, which is 24 hours before Saturn 0 if you want to get the POAP. So here a whole bunch of community members posted their screenshots, and I think I haven't seen any new POAP designs yet, but I'm sure we'll get those soon. But definitely update to that if you want the POAP. Okay, let's move on to some Constellation news now. And we got an update here from Joe yesterday saying that there was a bug with Constellation, their hyperdrive software, and patches found this basically. So it says, attention, patches noticed an issue today that may affect a small but non-zero number of node operators. It says if you use the terminal user interface to switch from Haleshki to mainnet and did not run hyperdrive service start after, e.g. you started with version 1.1.0 instead of release client 1, your VC is still validating client is still using the Haleshki smoothing pool as the fee recipient instead of the mainnet one. And it says to see if you're affected by this, do this. And then there's a contract call to ask for the fee recipient, and it says that if this is the output, then you are affected and you have to run hyperdrive service start to fix it. Run the docker exec command again, and you should see the below to confirm it's fixed. So if it comes back with this number and then there's a fee recipient equals blah blah blah, then you know that you're on the right one. So if you are a node set node operator, just run that command really quickly and you can see if you're right. It seems like there's very, very few people who've been caught by this so far. But it says that if you are affected and have doppelganger enabled, it will trigger and cause a few missed attestations when you restart the validating client. And says thanks for patches for reporting and thanks for everyone for verifying, and you're good to go. So I think it was actually patches who had that issue and then found it and kind of like talked to Joe about that. So hopefully that doesn't catch out too many other people. Okay, we've got some more Constellation news here. So Wanda here says that the RPL minimum stake ratio has been lowered to 10% at Gravitas request. Have fun. So this was something that I was predicting that should happen after the previous rewards period just ended. And the reason for that is because, after Sunday, there won't be any need to have RPL at all on your validators. So it makes sense that you kind of remove that bottleneck a little bit and letting the RPL you already have become more effective and kind of lift more ETH. So this happened yesterday afternoon. A whole bunch of people were then able to start validators last night, and a whole lot of people were able to get up to 3 and 4 validators each, with the limit of course currently being 4. And this here was the update that happened. So Constellation RPL minimum changed, and the Supernode's RPL bond minimum changed from 15% to 10%. So I think this is their target going forward, especially with Saturn Zero, because they want that 14% commission on as many validators as possible. However, I can foresee a situation where if there's a lot of ETH waiting on the XR ETH side, and they don't have inflows of RPL to mint XRPL, then I think that number would probably go down more just to make that ETH effective, because having ETH sat in your queue that is not effective is going to drag your rewards more than having validators with less than 10%. And of course, the 10 to 14% scaling is linear. So even if you go down to like 8% or 5%, you're still missing out on 2% of your commission, rather than those missing out on 14% of your commission, or whatever it might be for those that are sat idly by. So this is something that I was talking about on Rocket Fuel, I think yesterday, and it makes total sense that they're doing this. And another thing that I was talking about on Rocket Fuel yesterday as well was that they need to up the cap from 4 to maybe more going into the weekend if they get some ETH deposits. But I think what they're looking at is if they get a decent sized ETH deposit, probably today or like overnight maybe, then that cap will be raised quite quickly to let those node operators bring that ETH online, because I think they want to spin up as many validators as possible before Sunday's Saturn Zero hard fork upgrade. So here Blue AVM shared a screenshot from Rocket Sweep that has a Constellation dashboard, and it shows that they hit 400 validators. So we are well above 400 validators now, which is really awesome to see. But here in Constellation on the Node Set Discord, now there's a new channel called monitoring, and here it will tell you when there's events taking place on the system. So for example, just a little while before recording, someone deposited 16 ETH to mint our ETH. That's enough for 2 validators, and that's there now. Actually, let's have a quick look at the number of validators that are actually on Constellation right now, so I can give you the most up-to-date number. And this is the number from just 15 minutes ago, and it shows that there are 456 validators online. That's with 127 node operators. So those are node operators. If they all get to 4 validators each, that will take Constellation to just over 500 validators on Rocket Pool, which is really awesome to see. So gas prices are low right now. We're just waiting for that ETH deposits. We're waiting for those RPL deposits. Well, with RPL deposits, like I said, are not quite as necessary right now because there's a good amount of space to absorb ETH deposits. But we're just looking for those ETH deposits. So if you check the back of your couch, if you have some ETH just lying around, go mint some RETH. Okay, next we got an update from the GMC, and the GMC here released their latest grants round, and here Schifrin released a post saying that this is the grants round number 17, and this is from September 7th to October 7th, and here it says that the post begins the 14-day clock. So general updates from the GMC include things like Operation RETH, which is underway now. So if you have any ideas of how Rocket Pool can mint more RETH, definitely share those ideas and get money. Basically, the best ideas will get $2,000. Good ideas will get $1,000, and a whole lot of ideas will get $250 each. So it's really worth your time to put together like half a page of a proposal and hope that it's a good one and people will take it up. With GMC Year 3, the nominee statements phases has ended now, so you can see that that's gone through, and we'll actually have a look at that in a minute. But it says snapshot voting will take place on October 28th, and so basically on Sunday as well. So that's going to be a busy day, and that's going to last 14 days. So a snapshot vote will be held. Top 9 members will be elected, while the remaining nominees will serve as backups in order of the vote count. In the event of any future vacancies, a post will be made providing additional metrics on nominees, where community members can share their feedback and opinions on each candidate. And then the GMC roster, it says the new members get onboarded into the GMC. There'll be an intro call with members and any available old members to share advice and experiences. And then there's partnerships underway. So here the GMC has begun planning out the course content with Schifrin, and Alpha Growth have become business development for RETH demand as well. So that's really cool. The current roster, you all already know that. That's been the same for a while. Application breakdown, we had 4 grant applications. We had 1 bounty and 4 retros awards. Total amount of grants requested was $234,000, and the reserves for the GMC are $633,000. So here we can see who got money. So the RETH incubator got $15,000. Ramana got $1,000 for RETH slippage. Rocket Fi got $4,100. Scuzzle got $4,500, and Halulu and people working on RPIP 62 got $75,000. And Trooper asked for $150,000 for a new Rocket Pool Explorer, kind of like Rocket Scan, but that was deferred for future consideration. So here we can see that the rewards were quite straightforward, but a couple of them were and the one was declined, sorry. So the one that was declined was RETH integration with WannaBet. So the ones that were approved were quite straightforward, except the tokenomics prelude work, RP62 work. So that was request in 2 phases. Phase 1 was $15,000 for research work that was done to be divided out amongst a group of people who worked on that. And stage 2 was a payment if uptake happened for these validators. In Halulu's original grant, I'll just read it out. It says, originally the incentive was tied to reaching 20,000 validators. So that gets $60,000 for 20,000 validators. Now you have to remember that Rocket Pool, since its birth, nearly 3 years, has only had 22,000 validators. So we were going to pay them $60,000 for doubling Rocket Pool's TVL in the space of 9 months. And I thought they were kind of shortchanging themselves. So here it says the GMC has decided to lower this target to 10,000 validators, paying $6 per validator instead. So maximum reward of $60,000 for 10,000 validators instead of 20,000 validators. The idea being, of course, that 10,000 validators is a much easier target to hit instead of $20,000. And it says this aligns with WAC's suggestion and ensures the initiative remains a good deal for the protocol while acknowledging the cost involved in bringing RETH on board more quickly. So that's fine. With the Explorer, the feedback was the GMC has chosen to defer the decision regarding the proposal due to ongoing discussions with Pateris about potentially updating RocketScan. While the proposal represents a valuable idea, concerns were raised about the closed source nature of the backend, which is viewed as deal breaker by several members. The agreement that an Explorer tool is necessary, but adapting RocketScan is considered a more cost-effective solution. So the GMC also questioned the high cost of the proposed work, which equates to $325,000 a year for web development. That's seen as very high for the Web3 space. While the developers have expressed willingness to open source the backend, it remains unclear why this wasn't the default approach, leading to doubts about the pricing and the timeline. It says the GMC appreciates contributions of these developers, recognizing the efforts in pushing past the blocker that has been unresolved for 2 years. However, before making any final decisions, the committee prefers to explore options with Pateris first, including potentially paying him to update RocketScan. If that doesn't materialize, negotiations with the current developers can be revised with a suggestion to lower the proposed cost. And then with our ETH integration with WannaBet, here we have a decline from the GMC, and they were asking for $2,000, and it says the GMC decided to decline the application for this proposal, including their application for the Flat Money Builder program. While their effort is appreciated, the committee agrees that retroactive funding every protocol that uses RETH is not sustainable. Several concerns were raised, including limited usage of the platform with few bets denominated RETH and a small user base. This IIP is more like a basic proof of concept, and the overall impact on Rocket Pool protocol is minimal. Additionally, there is hesitation about setting a precedent of paying for RETH integrations when RETH is already a strong decentralized product. The GMC would like to thank the applicant for including RETH and for their Flat Money Builder program application. And then this is bounties that need definitions. That's there. Voter participation. Dondo was unable to submit decisions and feedback, and there were no amendments in this process. So that was actually really cool. Thanks, Shifrin, for providing all that information. Okay, we've got a little bit of an interesting issue that's kind of developing in the forums here based on Superfizz trying to kick Yorick, crypto manufacturer, off the oDAO. That idea, we got a little bit more information about what's going on with that. So Valdov says, I'm wearing my oDAO hat today. As a rocket scientist, he's on the oDAO. He says, I'm wanting to get the PDAO on the same page. He says the withdrawal address key for crypto manufacturer's oDAO node was lost. So that has no impact on any duties which use the node address key. The removal process has started and there's a transaction there. It says after removal, there'll be a re-invite which will rename the node to Galaxy as the recently acquired crypto manufacturer's assets. However, there was some pushback on this. So Patera says it's great having Yorick, but we got crypto manufacturer, we didn't get Galaxy. He says, I'm not a fan of inviting a soulless corporation to the oDAO. He says, I'll be a second time a corporation has purchased a seat on the oDAO, with Coinbase Ventures being the first. And he says the oDAO charter targeted 15 to 18 members. There's still 18 members because the team refused to reduce their 4 seats. So we don't need to necessarily fill the seat again. And then Butter said, from a security point of view, we should consider whether an oDAO seat can be transferred or bought. Since the keys were lost, it makes no sense to keep Yorick on board. I will vote in favor of removing Yorick. Regarding the re-invite, we should again consider from security point of view if an oDAO seat can be transferred or bought. My personal opinion is no. And Epinef had some ideas as well, and Superfizz says it makes sense to kind of break it down into 2 steps. One is remove Yorick from the oDAO, and I think everyone's kind of agreed that he says the vote ought to have full support, and I'm not aware of any contention. If the keys were lost, it makes sense. He says, however, after the keys were removed, we have the opportunity to replace that key with a new key in the Galaxy name. We're not under any obligation to do that, and while I initially assumed the default would be to rotate, I now believe that the default behavior is to reconsider whether adding Galaxy is in our shared interest. And then there's more feedback from Kevster, Snowcones, Ken as well. And some of these people are on the oDAO, of course, and some of them are not. But that's actually really cool. So, Pateris is with the rocket scientists. Buddha has his own seat as Beacon Chain. Superfizz, of course, has his own seat on the oDAO as well. And Ken with the rocket scientists. So you can read more of that if you want. But that is actually a really interesting discussions that's come up. So I thought I would share that with you. Okay, let's go back to the Rocket Pool Discord here, and we have an interesting discussion that came up today, and I thought I really should cover it because it's a really nice piece of information that Knoshua shared. So 5-day-old Burrito said, why is Lido CSM able to have such a low bond requirement compared to Rocket Pool? And the idea is that Dimi here, D. Gusukov from Lido, he put the research paper forward, kind of like saying how they came up with their bond requirement. And Knoshua actually responded really nicely. He says, it's not really explaining the difference with Rocket Pool, is it? He says, Dimi can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Lido will be able to update their contracts in a way that the CSM validator that gets created tomorrow is compatible with EIP 7002 triggable exits once those become a thing. On the other hand, Rocket Pool mini pool that gets created tomorrow is not guaranteed to be compatible with triggerable exits. Therefore, Lido needs to think about the value at risk until triggerable exits are available, while Rocket Pool needs to think about the value at risk until the end of time. In the shorter time frame, the value of risk is lower, so the capital requirement can be lower as well. And it says, Noshua says, if you're a bad boy, Lido can kick you out next year. So then you have to think about what you being a bad boy will cost over the course of a year. And if you're a bad boy with Rocket Pool, we can never throw you out. So we have to think about what it costs for you to be a bad boy forever. So that was just a little bit of color there. But I think this is really interesting perspective that Knoshua shares, and it's one that I agree with. Basically, we don't have the upgradable contracts with validators with Rocket Pool right now, and we're going to get those with Saturn, and we're going to incentivize people moving over to those. But that means that once you start your validator with Rocket Pool, that will be your validator forever, and there's nothing we can do to change it later because it'll just work forever. However, with Lido, the way that they're starting is, as soon as forced exits come about, then they can change you onto those forced exits, which means the costs that of you misbehaving and trying to steal MEV will only be for that short period of time. And because there's so many validators on mainnet now, the chance of someone being able to steal a lottery block in that time is very, very small. So Lido can kind of like take that chance. Basically, the cost is shorter over the shorter time frame. And with Rocket Pool, we can't do that. So that's why what we're doing is, we are going the Saturn route, and with mega pools. Saturn 1 will have mega pools, and that will allow us go down to 4 ETH validators. And it's only with Saturn 2 when we fully incorporate forced exits and sublinear bonding that comes with that is when we'll have 4 plus floor plus 1.5 ETH validators after that. So that is actually a really interesting discussion that Knoshua brought up. And I think a lot of people might be thinking that why are Lido able to start their validators with 1.5 ETH when Rocket Pool is still stuck at 8 ETH. But I think Knoshua did a really great job of answering that, so I thought I'd cover it for you. Okay, next we've got news that we've been expecting for quite a while actually, and this is news of 1KX withdrawing their RPL. So they had exited their validators, I think what feels like 2 weeks ago, maybe a week and a half ago. Quite a while ago they exited their validators. Well, they stopped their validation, but they didn't exit their ETH until yesterday. So all that ETH left their node yesterday, and the RPL was still there. However, now the RPL has gone from their account. So here there's a transaction that shows that the RPL has gone. So let's actually go and have a look and see what was going on with that. Give me a second. Let's have a look. Actually, that won't be the one to show it here. We can see it here. So if we have a look on Etherscan for that address, you can see that the amount has come off from their node, and it has gone to that's 205,000 RPL, by the way, and that has gone to their wallet, and it's still actually being held in their wallet right now. The previous RPL that they withdrew from Rocket Pool was actually sent to Binance, and that was almost definitely sold on Binance. This transaction here that you can see on the screen that I'm kind of highlighting, this address is a Binance address as far as I know. Or maybe that is not the Binance address. Yeah, that's got 40,000 RPL in there. So I'm not sure what they're doing, but it looked like a lot of their RPL previously was sold and went to Binance. And you can see that, there's 667 validators they had on this particular account was all taken out, and it's all gone. So they have no more validators anymore. And 1KX are done. So they decided to move on with not agreeing with the Saturn roadmap, and good luck to them. Okay, next we have a new thread from Bankless HQ that was shared on Twitter yesterday, and here they said just dropped the new Bankless guide on Rocket Pool. See what's new now. So what's really interesting here is that they have this blurb of see what's new with Rocket Pool. However, in their article, they actually don't cover a lot of the new stuff. They talk about minting RETH and how that works, but then there's sections about being a node operator, it still says that RPL is required and all this kind of stuff. So there's some mistakes in this process. However, overall, it's nice that Bankless are putting out this article about Rocket Pool. The weekly roll up came out today, and sadly, it didn't have any information in there about Saturn Zero or about Constellation. Maybe if we get a nice TVL boost next week and a little bit of hype around Rocket Pool again, they might cover it next week, saying that Rocket Pool underwent this update. But so far, that wasn't covered, sadly. Okay, let's move on to some staking news now. And here on the screen, you can see Lido CSM release party. So this was an event that took place earlier today, and it had 239 people viewing it, which is nice. And this was a call to say that CSM is going through their governance process. The end of it was successful, etc. And now it's starting. So here you can see like a bunch of people from their community and developers, etc. were on the call, and they got this done. Right, so that launched. So congratulations to Lido for getting this CSM module out, well, community staking module out. And other people who were involved with it, especially Dimi, like he seems like a really great guy, from the interactions that I've had with him, and he's worked really hard on getting this out. And in all honesty, this was one of the catalysts to getting Rocket Pool to change direction. And even though we are not kind of directly competing with CSM right now, in the future it might be the case that we do compete with them. So I wasn't able to watch the stream, so I can't tell you what was talked about, but I did hear that they want to open up their module for 4,000 node operators in their next update, which I think might come 6 months, I think a year from now. They permission this module. This is permission right now. It's whitelisted to people who've been staking on Ethereum before a certain date. There was a lot of addresses there, right? But it still means that only those people could take part. And they only got 16 ETH worth of validators each, which worked out to be 10 CSM validators. Now, with their next iteration, with 4,000 node operators, that would actually take up a big chunk of the actual Lido TVL. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that develops over the coming year. But, Lido, it's going to be interesting to see where they get those validators, those node operators from as well, because with Rocket Pool doing this huge push over the last few years, 3 years, the most number of node operators we ever reached at one time, I think, was around 3,000 or maybe 2,500, with currently having around 1,800 or something around there, right now. But yeah, huge congrats goes out to Dimi and Izzy, because those are people I know working over there, but others as well, I'm sure, who worked hard on this. So good stuff. Here we can see that their validators have already started coming in. So a whole bunch, there's 150 different validators have been started now, and that of course is up to 4,000 node operator ETH. So I think they've got space for maybe 10 times more than this or something like that, or maybe 8 times more than this. So that's great. I haven't really played around with this Explorer too much, so I'm not sure if I'm looking at single node operators or if I'm looking at single validators here, but it looks like all that's happening now. So that's really, really interesting to see how it's all going to play out. Okay, in staking news and not Rocket Pool news, I'm talking about the Rescue node here, and Rocket Rescue node has made an update to their system. And you all know that Rocket Rescue node is a software that's provided by the Rocket Pool community originally to Rocket Pool node operators, but later to solo stakers, that if you're having issues with your node, for example, if you want to update your clients, or you need to resync your consensus or execution layer clients for some reason, you can jump onto, well, execution client more than consensus, because you can snapshot sync the consensus client. But with the execution client, if you need to do something to that, you can just jump on the rescue node for up to 14 days while everything is getting sorted out on your node, and then you can get back off it. So it's a really nice way to make sure that you still stay validating, even though you are having issues with your hardware. Now, the exciting thing here is the reason why it's mentioned in the staking section today is that they've got an update that the rescue node now supports solo stakers who use smart contract wallets as their 0x01 withdrawal credentials, as long as the contract supports EIP 1271 signatures, such as safe wallets. And that will actually this was thanks to a contribution from Trainface. So this will open up using the rescue node to a whole bunch of new people, and that of course is really wonderful for Ethereum, because it means that if there's an issue with some solo staker, they actually have this as a fallback now, which is awesome to see. Okay, moving on to some other news now, and here we actually have news of the US government getting hacked. So Arkham here put out a tweet saying that the US government linked addresses appears to have been compromised for $20 million. So that's $20 million in USDC, USDT, AUSDC, and ETH have been suspiciously moved from a USG linked address to an attacker. And then it says that they received seized funds from the Bitfinex hackers from 9 separate seizures, and an address named in the court documents related to Bitfinex seizures. And the funds were moved to a wallet, which began selling the funds to ETH. We believe the attacker has already begun laundering the process through suspicious address linked to a money laundering service. So the US government got hacked for $20 million. So that was actually a really interesting story. And you can dig into that more if you're curious about how that all came about. And we're going to end the episode today with some Tether FUD that came out today. So here, the Wall Street Journal is saying that the federal investigators probe cryptocurrency firm Tether. Now, Tether has been in US governmental crosshairs before, has reached settlements with Department of Justice and Treasury stuff. So it's not new to these kind of investigations. However, this is a supposedly new investigation, but people from Tether have denied that this is actually taking place. So it's really interesting to see what's going to happen there. If you have a look here, yeah, we've got this really interesting take here from Omid Melikan, who actually was on Bankless last week, and I really liked his episode. So I really like this take as well. He says, so the Wall Street Journal has an article that the feds are investigating Tether for basically AML, and that's like know your customer stuff, and like anti-money laundering and sanctions violations. So it says, if you're unfamiliar, here's the issue in a nutshell. So it says Tether makes more money than Goldman. That's Goldman Sachs, one of the biggest banking financial firms in the world. It says, but only hires a fraction of the number of ex-government officials that a typical bank does to run various compliance programs that will inevitably fail, but then find billions by the successes of said government officials, public servants who will then have no choice but to also go work at a now chastened bank. So the idea here that Omid is saying is that basically there's like a revolving door between government and the banking sector, and they're kind of like people from banking going to government, people from government coming to banking, and this like this merry-go-round where they kind of help each other out. And basically Tether has not played this game. So he says, in other words, Tether has not opted into the AML industrial complex. It has not paid the tithe. Now, tithe is like, kind of like a tax almost, or like, a charitable donation. Like in this case, I think what he means is like, they're not played the game of getting those, lucrative jobs for previous political officers, and because of that, basically what Omid is saying is that they're going to keep coming after Tether and trying to find them or sanction them or limit their behaviors however they can, because of the fact that they're such a profitable company. They're one of the most profitable companies in the world if you count the income versus the number of employees they have. So it says what it has done, like Binance before it, is provide the dignity of basic financial services to countless poor, brown, otherwise underprivileged people from all over the world. People that, rather ironically, said government officials, or at least their elected bosses, supposedly cared about, but terrorism, so Tether must be made to heal. Now, what will probably end up happening with this is that Tether will be fined, potentially, if this is something that's actually happening, and, they'll get a slap on the wrist, and this will be called doing, the cost of doing business. And this is sadly a reality of a lot of financial crimes, and, crimes, but also, this kind of controlling, chilling behavior. that you pay a fine, that's your cost of doing business, and then everybody kind of goes on their happy way and carries on doing what they were doing before anyway. That might be a cynical take, but it's one that I think has been shown has happened many times. We see like fines that companies can easily afford to pay, and the money that they made was like vastly more than that. So even if Tether gets fined $1 billion, for example, not saying that they will, but that will be an incredibly large fine. They've made many billions of dollars over the last years, and they're doing fine. Do you know what I mean? So this is really interesting. It's going to be curious to see how that develops in the days and weeks to come, and whether it ends up being like a FUD factor or not. But yeah, I'll definitely keep my eyes on that and maybe share that information with you if it becomes pertinent going forwards. But on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. There's a special episode coming out tomorrow, which is Saturday the 26th. So definitely keep your eyes open for that one. I think it's going to be really useful for a whole lot of you to kind of watch it and understand what's going on in there. But I'll leave that to tomorrow. Keep it as a little bit of a surprise. But anyway, enjoy your weekends, and I'll see you all on Monday. And hopefully, when I'm recording on Monday, we will have a lot of action in the deposit pool. But we'll see then. So thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye.